Greetings and welcome back to yet another episode of the daily run. Today I'm playing as Isaac, and whenever there's a Isaac on a daily run, I need to start putting my thinking cap on, because whenever you have that D6, you really need to consider a lot of things before you kind of start rerolling, and when you're going to reroll and when you're not going to reroll. So in a way, Isaac is a thinking character, but at the same time, of course, the variance of using the D6 in certain situations is very large, so even the same run can end up being very different for two people. Our first item contains the holy water, which is not a good item at all. If you don't know what it does, maybe, whenever you get hit and you have holy water, you leave a puddle of water on the ground that deals enemies who walk over it. That deals damage to enemies who walk over it. And it disappears after like 3 or 5 seconds. It's a very bad item, just because more often than not, whenever something does end up hitting you, means that probably you can deal with it on your own somehow, or you can get away. And most likely it is that puddle of water won't actually deal any damage, because the enemies can be immune to it. Well, not immune, but they can fly and they cannot get hit by it. Or they can burrow underground or anything like that. And against those enemies, that item is just useless. And even against enemies who can actually walk over it and take damage from it, it's usually not very good, just because they end up going away from you, or maybe you have a black card and they die already or anything. Well, just in essence, it's not a good item, and it's something that I would never pick up. So I feel safe by rerolling it early on, even though usually on the first floor you only get chance either to reroll the item room or reroll the boss item. And like I said, because holy water is an item I would never take, and because we did find it first, I decided to use my item room charge, or my spacebar item charge, my D6, on that item. And even because we found it rather early, I even thought that maybe we would get another 6 rooms and hopefully get another charge for the boss room, but that didn't happen. There were only 4 active rooms. Here you can see me trying to decide, should I bomb this tinted rock or the last possible secret room, because this is the only place where a second secret room can spawn. Remember, second secret room has to be adjacent to only one room, and that room cannot be any room, even a secret room. So there was only one possible spot for the second secret room. So I know that if I use my bomb there, that I would get it. And I think picking up the second secret room here is a bit more important, because there's always a chance that we'll get a spirit heart or a black heart. And of course it gives us more exploration bonus than if we just decided to blow out the tinted rock. Even though the tinted rock has a chance to give us something like a small rock, which would be very beneficial to us, I felt like getting a bit more points is more important for that bomb, just because this is one of those rare times where you're certain that your bomb will actually give you a secret room. So that's why I placed it there. And because we did get toxic shock from rerolling the holy water in our item room, we can be feeling pretty comfortable when we're going to the second floor for not getting hit, because of course when you enter a room, the toxic shock poisons every enemy and really helps us out to kind of deal damage to them. Sadly though, the widow here wasn't too big of a deal. She was a bit meaner than usual, just because she spawned a lot of spiders, and that can make it a bit difficult. But my dodging game was on point today, and I decided to beat it without getting hit. We did get the mom's coin purse, which is not an optimal item at all here, just because it is gives you 4 pills, and it's a good item in some cases, but today it just gave me 1 health down and a speed down, which is like a reverse item room that you can get. Instead of speed up, we got a speed down. So early on this floor I found a treasure room, and it contained Bob's brain, and it's an item that I would sometimes take, but because I have the D6 I don't really want to venture into that. I feel like if I did pick up Bob's brain there, even though it's a good item in a sense, I think it can end up costing you a bit too much points, because you will inevitably hit yourself with it. And even though, because this is Curse of the Lost, and Curse of the Lost not only hides your map, but also adds a few extra rooms to the generation, so on average I think that Curse of the Lost floors have a few more rooms than just regular floors that don't have Curse of the Lost. So maybe that's my decision, that I should have rerolled Bob's Brain when I had the chance. I was saving it. I didn't reroll Bob's Brain, even though I didn't intend to pick it up, because I was saving it for the devil deal. And that's what you generally want to do on the second floor, is save your D6 charge for that devil deal and hopefully reroll 1 or 2 items there to hopefully get a super strong item. Even though we still did manage to get a battery charge, and I did reroll the Bob's Brain into an item that is actually pretty useful, which is Mystery Sack, which has a chance of dropping you random consumables and random cards and trinkets and things like that. And I really enjoy that item, just because I think it's a fun item, because you know you get goodies from it, and getting free stuff is always pleasant and quite enjoyable. You can see me taking my first hit of damage here by walking into the spikes, and spikes on this run were my biggest enemy, because I think I took most of my damage from spikes. I think only 1.5 hearts of damage were actually from enemies, and one of those enemies was a champion, so that means he dealt 1 full heart of damage to me, and all the rest damage, which was like 2 or 3 more hits, were just from spikes, because we took 8 minutes to complete the first 2 floors, which means that we're being very slow here, but that's because I took my time to kind of play the blood bank, hopefully try to get a lot of coins, and then I did end up getting a lot of coins, and I did end up buying bomb spurs from the shop. In retrospect, you know, I was kind of feeling maybe we can take a bit longer here because we do have Toxic Shock, and I felt like Toxic Shock is going to carry us through rooms, but you can see by how long it actually takes us on some of these rooms that Toxic Shock is not a particularly useful item because we don't have any damage ups. Remember, Toxic Shock does stack with your damage, and if you don't have any, then you're just not gonna end up doing much. Thankfully, what did happen in this shop, because I did see that we have enough money, and because we did have the petrified poop, I was in an okay situation. I was feeling like, you know, I'll have a lot of money going forward, so I can maybe afford to kind of spend 5 cents on a reroll to see if I'm gonna get a better item from a shop. So I use my reroll, and I see that there's a battery charge there, and if you know, if I just spent it and just had a chance to look at another item, that battery charge in the shop, you have to look at it like, am I willing to spend 5 cents in order to get a look at another item which I can buy? And I think the answer to that is mostly yes, whenever you have the ability to get more money. This Stain fight was... I kind of made a rush for this. When I entered this floor, I had 3 red hearts and 1 spirit heart. This particular run wasn't very fond of us to getting any sort of health, especially any sort of blue or black health. And because I did take that 1 full heart of damage on the spike and 1 full heart of damage on the champion enemy, I was kind of feeling a bit under pressure, because this is the 3rd floor, no, the 4th floor. I think it's the 4th floor, and we haven't gotten the devil deal in the 3rd floor, so it's very important for us not to take damage if we want to kind of maximize our chances to get a devil deal. And I really put my mind to it, you know, use my bombs, start dodging really well, because I really want to get this devil deal so I can use my D6 to hopefully get a super good item that will carry me from here on out. Because at this point, if I really want to catch all the important objectives like boss rush and hush, and still have a decent exploration bonus, I really need a super powerful item, because it's 16 minutes in, which means that we only have 4 minutes to get to boss rush, and I don't think without getting a really strong item and some damage ups that is not going to happen. So I kind of put all my eggs in one basket, so to say, and I really wanted to get that super good item or devil deal item that would get me that would carry me. And my dream came true, but a bit later. If I've managed to find this treasure room a bit sooner that contained Tech Hacks, I would have probably, you know, felt much more comfortable, but because we kind of spent another 2 minutes just finding that treasure room, it is not looking very good, in the sense that we'll probably have to forfeit the chance of me catching boss rush. And another fact is, you know, Tech Hacks is a good item, like Brimstone is a good item, but on their own, you know, they work well, they're a great help, because you deal a lot of ticks of damage, and even if you have low base damage, you can end up kind of dealing with enemies in a very efficient manner. It works especially well against rooms which has a lot of enemies in them, because they do have piercing shots and spectral tears and things like that. So having that benefit to us really helps us to kind of clear rooms faster, especially with the fact that we have the Toxic Shock, which of course also helps us kind of deal with multiple enemies in the same room. But at the same time, you know, it's not a god-given, like, just one item is not going to carry you. It's gonna help us a lot. Of course, you can see that we are on average clearing these rooms much faster than we did before, but because we are so late, you know, just because we did take so much time, and if we really want to make it and explore a lot, we really need some damage ups as well to hopefully get a few bonuses, in the sense that any damage up in this case is like a 13 damage ups, because the Tech Hacks ends up hitting way more often than just one single tear. And even, like I said, even though we do have this Tech Hacks, we're still not in a very great position. We're in a great position from a survivability standpoint, because we can probably bank on not dying against certain bosses or enemies, but we're not in a great position in regards of catching the important objectives in time, just because even though, like I said, we have a lot of damage, it's just not enough for us to guarantee that we're gonna be able to catch Boss Rush or Hush even in time. Of course, for Boss Rush we're already too late, and for Hush we'll see what happens. And for some reason, even though we did get a lot of nice benefits from our shops, a lot of ways to kind of get a large amount of points, like the 1+1 item. How is it called? Contract from Below? No, it's not Contract from Below. It's the other one that's very similar to Contract from Below. And we did get Saga Boy, which kind of puts us in a very good position in the sense that we're probably going to get a lot of coins and consumables in general, which is of course going to give us a lot of points, but we're not feeling good about our damage situation, I guess. I decided to take Maw of the Void here because I feel like it's gonna help us to generate hearts. And of course, sadly, we are left with 1.5 hearts remaining, which means I have to be a bit careful now when going forward. But I'm not too worried because, like I said, we do have Tech X, and with Tech X, I'm feeling pretty safe just in general, as regarding our kind of overall state. And because we do have, like I said, those ways of getting consumables, there's a good chance that we'll get some Spirit Hearts as well. One thing that kind of screwed me over on this run, I think the most, is me just taking the wrong path again. That ends up happening to me quite often on daily runs, and like I said, I think it's maybe got to do with how I explore the rooms. But I end up actually taking very weird paths that end up leading me to stray ends a lot, and this is what definitely happened. There were a lot of large floors, and I managed to kind of pick the wrong path every single time. And look at this. So what happens is I end up playing I pick up the blood bag. So what ends up happening here, right? It's a very unfortunate situation, but I have basically 2 red hearts, and I decide to play the blood bank 3 times, which is definitely fine, of course, because I gotta do something with those hearts. And then I decide to pick up the blood bag, which of course increases your HP and heals you for like 4 or 5 hearts. So my plan is of course to play a bit with the red hearts, and what ends up happening is I actually get to half a heart. I pick up the blood bag, and then it seemed like, because the health is not immediate, you don't get immediate health when you pick it up, what ends up happening is that window where the item was still applying, even though the animation kind of disappeared that I picked up the item, I thought I was safe, that I will get the health, but what ended up happening before that health was applied to me, I ended up walking into another blood bank, and that actually killed me. And because killing yourself, even though you're in the process of getting health, is it just ends your run then and there, and that was kind of a very silly mistake. But at the same time, I feel like it shouldn't take so much time to gain health when you pick up a health up item. It was very odd. It seemed like it took longer than usual, but that's probably just my perception because I ended up dying. So yeah, what I felt was going to be a very strong, very good daily, because I felt like I played very well. It was a very fun daily in the sense that there were a lot of fun rooms that had to do with a lot of dodging, but I just made this little mishap at the end and I ended up dying again. So this is 3 dailies in a row where I ended up dying before getting to any notable objective, so this feels pretty bad, but at least today I can only blame myself, and I can blame that the daily or the enemies were particularly hard. Even though, guys, I thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you next time.